So the upcoming panel discussion will talk about bringing digital heritage back to the audience. We capture all these incredible sites. We want to preserve them. What is the next step? What are we going to do with it? How are we going to bring it closer to the audience? So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to the stage the moderator of the upcoming panel, Tomas Barnas. Sorry, Michal Gula. Let's give it up for Michal.
Tomáš is the other one.
Tomáš is the other one, but he's going to be on the panel discussion.
He will be here.
Perfect.
He will be here.
Take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me introduce you, Bachaar Tarabay. Welcome. John Ristevski, you already seen him, but he's a very interesting guy, so let's have him again. Welcome. Tomas Barnas. And Jonathan Chemla. If I could sit also, that would be great. Yeah, thank you. You can move slightly, just Welcome, guys. We have been speaking about different kind of reality capturing during the whole 2 days, and what I love about this conference, me personally, is that we are all using the same technology, but with very different outputs. And one that is very interesting is the cultural heritage. So that's why we decided to have this discussion, because most of us might be using the laser scanning, photogrammetry, or 3D Gaussians for surveying, for as-built documentation, and so on. But especially these guys are trying to preserve the cultural heritage. And maybe just for the beginning, if I could give you guys all just a few seconds to introduce like what company you are coming from and what's your specialization with the cultural heritage. We can start with Jonathan.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm CTO at Iconem. What we do is 3D scanning endangered heritage sites, archaeological sites. We started in the Middle East and then expanded to Europe, Africa, the Americas, Southeastern China.
You might know Tomáš, but still.
Yeah, like within this panel, I'm representing my company Overhead 4D, and we'll be talking about digitization of cultural heritage. So that's the theme.
John, you have the second chance to introduce yourself.
Hopefully you remember what I just said. Yeah, I'm from SCI-Arc. You just heard it.
Sure, Bashar.
So I'm from Iconem. I'm the head of scientific project. So my role is to help Iconem create this project, create these collaborations and partnerships around the world, and make sure that this project happens from A to Z.
Okay, guys, how I would like to run this panel discussion is not a question answer. I really like. I would like these guys to discuss with each other. I will try to facilitate their discussion. I will try to spark some controversy between them, because I always like when people are arguing with each other. And you are welcome to ask questions in the Slido. So I'll do my best to ask your questions to them. If you want to ask a specific person, please just put the note there who you are addressing the question to. We have been speaking about the 3D Gaussian splatting. So far, I mean, like, until, I don't know, like 2 years ago, we, or you, are mostly using photogrammetry and laser scanning. How would you compare the accuracy for what you need in traditional photogrammetry laser scanning compared to 3D Gaussian splatting? Whoever feels like going first.
I do, okay. Thanks, nice question for the introduction. The way we see Gaussian splatting at Iconem is like an additional layer, and for an additional representation of the physical spaces we do capture. For the experts we work with, we really see these converging needs between experts who need geometrical accuracy for doing their measurements, for making restorations and stuff like that. And all these needs are converging with the needs more of preservation, of the museums we work with, and it's really different needs, but the same outputs can be used for all these people at the same time.
Who would like to jump?
I can add some elements. So generally, we use photogrammetry and LiDAR or scanning for precision because we work with a lot of archaeologists, historians, and architects, restorers. And one of the main aim of our project is to help them facilitate their work and the observation over the sites. But as we shown yesterday in the Minaret of Jam, in that time, you were obliged to do photogrammetry even for the site, around the site and the mountains and the valley. So if we had to do it again, we would redo the scan in photogrammetry and laser for the minaret itself, but you would add the layer of splatting for the environment, which would give an even more enriched vision that will help you really get immersed even without using VR or AR.
Maybe I would tackle also like the accuracy in general, because I'm just supposing that for different use cases, even within the cultural heritage, you need different accuracy. So could you, Tomas, maybe?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to mention, that also as in other fields or industries, in certain projects you need more accuracy. You need the data which are used for reconstructions, for something which is used for future building or reconstructing the certain place. That means, like, if we really speak about the cultural heritage which needs a reconstruction or which needs plans, we still need to stick to traditional technologies. But I really liked what Bashar just mentioned, that the best use case now, which I also see in many of our projects, is to giving the data, the story, and the context. So it's not only about recreating something, but if we would later maybe speak about budgets or something, you would never be able to reconstruct the entire environments, and no one would ask you for that, and no one would give you money for that. So actually, like, you can still, and it's still required to make very accurate center of the focus, but the rest is more or less like on us to give the people and also to clients the story around to understand the surrounding.
Yeah, like for us, I think it's always about trying to understand what the partner or the client needs and trying to right-size what we do to fit that. And, you know, even before splatting, you know, even if you had LiDAR plus photogrammetry, you know, there was also accuracy considerations there. Do you put in survey control? Do you do a GNSS survey to do georeferencing? That would take even more work. You know, there's like levels of rigor and accuracy in every project, and I think splatting is maybe, at least today, the least rigorous and beautiful to look at, but maybe hard to quantify in terms of metric accuracy. So maybe being clear with our partners and our clients about what's actually needed. For us, if we're doing a pure storytelling project for visualization, maybe we don't need to do any of the other work. Maybe we can offer it to them much cheaper or at a much lower price point than we could if we added all these other layers to it. I think, I don't know, it all comes down to, I think, having a really good conversation with your partner, client, and trying to understand what their needs are for a particular project. No one data capture is going to do everything for you, right? And all the heavy lifting. Like, I think that's a misnomer.
Right, but exactly like the thing you were just showing in your presentation, it's something where I can imagine that you have like good adaptation of Gaussian splats, because having them online on the platforms easier than the heavy data and having their stories inside annotations, that's something where it can be really nicely used, where you don't actually care much, if we can say like this, about accuracy.
Yeah, yeah, it's
like
about
it is accurate. It is, the size is there, scale is there, but you don't need a centimeters or something.
Yeah.
Well, especially for the nice moon data, I would like to have a centimeter accuracy. What were you able to achieve there?
Oh, very little accuracy, I think.
Have you placed targets on the moon, or?
No targets, 0 targets. I wish I could go there to do that, but yeah, no, it was all hand modeled from whatever imagery was there from the missions. And that was basically our reference and what the archaeologists, the lunar archaeologists had.
Still, many people believe that we never landed on the moon, so it might be AI, guys. Just a disclaimer. we don't know. No, just kidding. In terms of accuracy, especially with the cultural heritage, I like to tackle also the 4th dimension, because we are not only speaking only about accuracy in millimeters, centimeters, but also in time, right? Because what you are trying to do is to preserve the cultural heritage, but you are capturing it in a time. How accurate can you, or how sure can you be whether what you are capturing today was the same as it was like, I don't know, like 100 or 1,000 years ago. What does it mean, the accuracy in time sense for you?
Definitely it's not the way it was 100 years or 1,000 years ago. The thing you can do is based on that's kind of how the sites looks like today, recreate how it could have looked like in before different states in time. And for these, you really need the experts' knowledge. John really showed that pretty well. It's an important way to build a project with the clients, with the local communities, with the experts in the field who helps you do back and forth and recreate these different states so that you can better represent them for the general audience to illustrate that history of that common history.
Yeah, and that's also not just about like understanding their point of view or understanding their knowledge, like I mean a client or experts, but also you need to start the story and the entire project like this, that you discuss with them what they want to achieve, because we had this discussion multiple times, that you cannot just go on site and think like I'm doing everything with that precision or something. So we all, I believe, collaborate with historians and people, local people, which are telling you the story of the place even before you are capturing and scanning. So you many times can find the places which maybe are not accessible or they are not open for public and they really want to show it or they really want to preserve it. So like this entire work is really strongly depending on the collaboration with locals.
Mm. We have a question from the audience, like how do you get jobs for cultural heritage?
I think that's the most challenging aspect of our work. There's so many cultural heritage around the world, but so little money and funding that is allocated to these kinds of projects. So especially I think at first when our different companies where we work for or that we founded had a lot of problem to convince people of the needs. So now it's becoming more and more natural, but even today getting funds is quite challenging because you need to especially public funds, because you need to tell them why you're doing this and how it's going to be used later on, and why, if it's already been done, what is the advantage of doing it again and again and so on, because it's the opportunities are limitless. It's quite easier in the private sector, but it's not that random, and you don't have like millions of private funders who just want to scan cultural heritage, because you really need to be immersed in this importance of this field and how documentation can help construct this common history for humankind.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a tough segment to work in. There's not a lot of funding. What is there is very competitive. For us at SCI-Arc, our funding is usually a mix of government grants. And a lot of it is US focused for us, and that's become challenging recently with the new administration. Federal grants was like a large part of our funding pool, and that is, a lot of that has dried up in the last 18 months. But there's also state grants, there's foundations, a few foundations that fund this work across the world and in the United States. We also have some corporate sponsors. I think Iconem does too. So usually it's a mix of different funding models to keep entities like this alive. But it is a tough field for fundraising.
Yeah, and like funds and tenders, like Bashar mentioned, that's always complicated because you need to define it and you actually need to educate the client or the site to know what they want and how to define it. So many times for us, it's not only about like offering a product, it's more about educating the site, first of all. Mm-hmm. They need to understand what is possible. They need to understand what can fit their needs or what would be nice to have. And when they understand this, then you can move to the project. So part of our businesses is the education and trainings and like sharing knowledge with the sites, because if historians or like researchers understand that, then it's easier also to bring this in the, let's call it, production.
So how do you tackle the situation when typically you need to educate your client, your potential client, then they're obligated to do some competition for the job because they cannot just give you the job, and somehow you don't win. What you do?
it's part of the game. Like if yeah, the needs has been understood. Usually the needs are well understood by the people closer to the sites. It's harder for them to get the approval from their management or to get the funding for these kind of projects. But yeah, if you see that there has been, as Bashar mentioned, also heavier and heavier focus, heavier and heavier express of these needs for 3D documentation, then there's plenty of room for all of our companies to operate all around the world. It's clearly a place which needs more people doing the scannings, and if it's another company winning the job, then you'll try to find another one.
And I would like to add that honestly, even when we see other sites that you would have liked to scan, being scanned by other companies, honestly, it's a win because you feel like it's being done. It's not about I did it. It's about just being done and accessible to the people. And it's not, the competition is always there and it's part of the game. And this is what leads us to get better and better and get even more precise with what we can offer. But as long as the job is being done, honestly, it's part of our objectives that are being completed, whether it's us who conduct it or other companies.
As long as it's done well.
Yes.
Because this is a really important point.
Bullshit.
The problem, and I would say like longer time, like this kind of segment or field was struggling on the beginning when the data were being created. They were not high quality, but they were heavy. And I think that Prague like convinced those sites and people around cultural heritage that they really can use it was a big challenge. So it's important that, not that just few companies are doing that, but more about like really whoever is doing a cultural heritage, it just needs to be well done, that these people are not living from that field and not saying like digital stuff is not for them.
I think your point is right on. I think the story of SCI-Arc, we started 23 years ago, and so scanning was in its infancy. You could go out there, we would scan, we would collect things. You couldn't do much with it. So there was not much, there was a lot of wow value in showing it to the client or the partner or the site, but actually what value did they get out of it? And that was my own criticism of SCI-Arc in the very beginning, is there was very little value. There was an idea that you could archive it, and SCI-Arc used to call it scan and can. You go scan it and put it away, and maybe you can do something with it someday, but that's just not what people want. People want useful things that they can leverage, get value out of, solve a conservation problem, solve a restoration problem, tell a story, reach an audience. Got to have something there. You can't just do projects for the sake of doing projects.
From my experience, the client rarely knows what they want, like exactly, right? So the part of the education is also explaining them what are all the options, like what for could the data be used for, what there are different types of collecting data, processing, using as outputs. So I would guess it's a part of your job also to explain to them it's not only about the nice VR solution or AR solution, but also about the documentation, about the reconstruction, digitally. So what are the like different ways of how you communicate with clients, and what different ways of the outputs and usage of the data you are usually communicating with clients?
I would call it here, I really like to say like dual use of the data, where we move to a time when the sites, historians and researchers, they understand digitization, they understand photogrammetry, many of them, and they want it. But we are still in the stage where you are more hearing about the digitization for archives, for saving it, for preventing for the future, but not that much about how to use them. So we are kind of in the middle way with most of the clients, I would say, where everybody now, we don't need to explain them what is photogrammetry or that you might need it, but it's now more about explaining it correctly, how you can use the data, that it can be a benefit to bring it back to the audience, to get maybe engaged other generation of people which really want to play always with the digital stuff, with phones, with anything. So just bringing it back to audience in different way.
Yeah, I feel also that it's our responsibility to showcase what we can do with it. And I think that one of the most asked questions when I started work at Iconem is, and then what? what do we do next with this data? And honestly, at first I struggled a bit because it wasn't easy to find a smooth, easy answer to digest. But I realized that with time, this question is asked in a more direct way with more specificity, and that helped us a lot also to guide our work and to see how we can make it even more accessible to the people, whether by creating platforms, by creating tutorials, by following up, not just appearing and disappearing. It's a continuous work. Even if a mission is dated for like a week or two, our work is infinite, and we have this responsibility to follow up with the people we worked with in order to ensure that they are using the data well. We know perfectly how it works, but we can't expect others to know it, especially that this technology is ever growing, and even us are learning every day. And in these 2 days, I learned so much more that I imagined I could, and it's quite enriching to see how it's evolving, and the responsibility we have to ensure this translation between tech and what the community needs.
Anyone else? Okay, so now we have educated client. Hopefully you want the job. We have a question from the audience, like, what's the bottleneck of the process? Is there any permit, any institution that can cause you problems before actually capturing the data? You are all smiling, so I guess there is or there are.
Permit negotiation is like one of the biggest time sinks. It can take anywhere between 3 months to a year. Like I think all our organizations always operate under a full permit. Like we have a reputation that we need to uphold, relationships that we need to cultivate. So we can't just go out there and rogue catch something or rogue fly a drone. It can be that would ruin our future work. So I think permitting is like one of the biggest hassles, but it's part of the game. I think you have to work with local communities, local authorities, ministries of culture to be able to do that work. And I think over time, it becomes easier, that negotiation becomes a little easier. If you worked in a country before, it becomes easier to get that permit again. If you're working in a new country that you've never been to before, it's going to take a long, long time to get that project off the ground. But I think working in cultural heritage, that's just part of the game, I think.
Definitely, and having local actors that can help you out, and that's one of the perks of working with locals. They know the system, maybe not perfectly, but they can guide you to get there. And I want to add something. If you want to be specific, what are the most difficult permits are the drone permits. And even when you have them, sometimes you can't fly them. So it's quite a hassle, and you have to think on site, what is the alternative? I'm here, what can I do? Because sometimes we fly and we go there thinking that everything is clear, everything is prepared, and once the drone starts, the problems begin. And sometimes the drone doesn't even start. We had this problem, but we always find solutions, so we have to be agile and versatile in the ways we work, because we never know what might happen. And I usually think my job is finding solutions to problems that might never happen. So it's kind of challenging. It gives you like some kind of push, and honestly, everything is possible, but the problem is the matter of time. And if I can give one advice, is identification of all the actors, because if you miss an actor and he finds out that you are doing it without consulting him, that can create a lot of problems and obstacles in a project.
Yeah, I would add there just that there are 2 ways to look at it, and one is whether the site is interested in that project or someone else that you digitize that site. So totally 2 different things. Because if the site wants it, as you mentioned, it's a question or a matter of the time. So it's always possible somehow, but it takes time. But if someone else is requesting you to scan some site and they don't have a communication, it might happen that you would never get a permission. So this is very important, that you need to have the site involved if you want to have like world-known heritage or wonders of the world, then it doesn't work without them.
They can, like you said, they can be creative solutions. We had an interesting project a few years ago on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., where you absolutely cannot fly a drone. They will not let you fly a drone on the National Mall. And so we talked with the National Park Service, and eventually they were like, well, hey, we can fly you in our helicopter. the National Park Service police helicopters. They let us go in the helicopter, take aerial photographs of the monuments, but no drone, but we could fly in the police helicopter. That was totally okay. So there are creative solutions.
Helicopter is more green, right?
More green.
If anyone is selling in a helicopter here, we're interested.
Has any one of you ever had a project that you actually got the job, but due to permits you weren't able to finish it or to do it at all?
Yes. Yeah, it's happened before. Yeah.
Please do share.
Yeah, I remember one project we did in India. We got some initial permits. We were able to do the data capture. For some reason, the full permitting process did not finish. We never released that data, zero. It's sitting on a shelf because there was an Indian government official that did not want this to happen, and it just stopped. So we didn't just get off the ground. We did the data capture. It just never saw the light of day.
Bashar, you were nodding as well. So
I think politics, it's cultural heritage is very linked to politics, to the narrative that you want to create, what is the message you want to convey, and that can create a lot of problems in limiting a project. And for example, on another side, I talked about project where the drone couldn't fly because it didn't want to, even with all the authorization, the no-fly zone of DJI didn't want to be turned off, and we weren't able to do the whole mission like you wanted. You were able to assess the main elements, to scan the main elements, but sadly, even though we had all the authorization, local and international, we weren't able to do exactly what we needed to do.
Do you agree, again the question from the audience, do you agree that the 3D recording or 3D data from the cultural heritage should be public?
That's a very touchy question because there's always the security problem and the intellectual property. That's a secondary problem. And as you can see, if you go to our application on internet, the app.iconem.com, you're going to see gray points and yellow points. The yellow points were made public after a long discussions with different actors from different sites, and it was a way for us, we convinced them that it's important during COVID, but because it allowed people to travel to sites even when they were confined. But we have a lot of projects in gray that no one can access due to security reasons, especially in conflict areas. And you have even dots that you don't even see on our platform that we don't even have the right to show. So politics plays a lot of role in this public access that we would love to do, because for us, heritage, as we all agree, heritage is made for everyone, but the stakes are a bit more complicated than that.
I think my answer is basically the same. I think our philosophy at SCI-Arc is we want to make the data open where we can, if our partners and the site authorities are open to releasing it, and we've made a lot of our data open source for reuse on Open Heritage, which some of you may have used. But there's many times that we can't, and we have to respect, I think, those cultural norms and those political norms that might limit us from releasing it. It's ultimately up to our partners, really, about what gets released.
Okay, but during the negotiation with the client, are you proactively suggesting to make data public?
We do. We put that as an option. We have the discussion. Would you like to make it open? We can put it on Open Heritage and make it available to the public, and we give them the choice.
Is there any direct advantage for the municipality or the state for why should they do this?
That's a great question.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
I don't know if there is a really great, convincing argument to make to them other than for the public good and for research and for that type of thing. But I don't have a compelling argument to say to a state authority or Ministry of Culture, this is why you should definitely make this open. I don't know if you have a different perspective.
I think Jonathan wanted.
Yeah. He seems like he has one.
Yeah. Sometimes the regulations enforce you to public funding. If you get public funding, you have to make public data, or open data. It's not necessarily the raw inputs or the processed 3D data that you can share. Obviously, the web experiences or the VR experiences, it's a way for the general audience to experience these sites. It's opening portions of the data. Often what's also very important is taking in consideration the needs of the experts. Some of the data we do have off the shelf, we cannot publicly disclose it, but if there's scientific, the community, there are experts reaching out to us, usually it's very easy to get the approval from the state or the site managers to share that data sets for research reasons, or the tricky part is mostly commercializing the data afterwards.
I have a tricky question for you guys, because you all nodded with the question about making data public, but it's two-way how to make data public. It can be with the raw images or scans with the raw data captured, which is part of your know-how, which is part of your skill set, and everything else regarding this. And the second way how to do this is just to make the final data public, okay, accessible to other people. So just try to be honest here, like which way would you prefer to go, or both ways, or how do you see it?
We generally make the raw data available and not the derivatives. That's how.
Which one? Sorry, I didn't
the
get
raw
it.
data.
The raw data.
That's our approach at SCI-Arc. I think that has, like, to me, it makes sense, like, because it has more reuse value. If you can make all the imagery or GPS data or whatever, the LiDAR scans, and people can reconstitute and reprocess it. So generally, we run the raw data available and keep the derivatives for ourselves or for the project and our partners. That's our general philosophy.
But often this is also defined in the project or tenders, or how it's designed, actually, the entire process.
But I'm asking about your position and opinion, not about the final agreement.
No. I just meant that many times you are defining it already. So you're coming up with these thoughts on the beginning, and then, for example, if it's like a consortium of people, it's something like you're going already in the open source world, where then you are supposed to be sharing also the source data. Because I agree with John, it makes sense that you're giving something what is reusable more, and if we do the final, or if we share the final 3D model, it's already kind of locked to nowadays. Like 2 years later, from the 2 years ahead, like in 2 years, we would be able to probably recreate it even better. So yeah.
Guys?
I think generally it depends also on who are you giving the data to. For example, when it's public data, especially political, or ministries and governmental institutions, we love to give the raw data. It's our way of saying we are here to share our knowledge, just not here just capture data and give you like small elements that represent what we did. And this gives us a bigger responsibility of training them and showcasing what they can do with this data. Because giving the raw data, a couple of terabytes of pictures, can be useless for some actors, when you give them the training and the tools that are becoming more and more free and open access. That way, I think it's more logical to give the raw data, but not just give the raw data to give it. We have to have guidance and objectives afterwards in order to make sure that it's used the right way.
I totally agree with that, and this is the part which I was also mentioning on the beginning, that part of our focus and business and the strategy, if I may speak for everybody, is also to share the knowledge. So you are often really educating the end client, so you're educating people on site, because they have many times little things they need to capture. None of us can always fly their bag and just go there for one little piece of heritage, which is also important. But if they know how to do it, then even if they don't process, then they at least can collect it, and maybe then we are supporting further. But it's really important that they know how to do it, what to do with it, and how to play with the stuff we are delivering them.
Is there any space for generative AI in terms of reconstructing the cultural heritage and delivery to the client, or final outputs for the audience?
I would say it's really scaring the heritage field right now, because with generative AI you are very free and very easily you can create something, and it's hard to prove. It's not hard to prove. It's never right, because there is no enough information about for AI to really make a nice reconstruction. So this is part of the if this is a part of the project that you need to do reconstruction, everybody wants to see the research and development. It's like, it's not possible that you just drop it into AI and use the images which are coming out, right?
Yeah, I think it's the safest way to go because heritage, as we said, we look for accuracy and details and make sure that the data is as similar as the real data on site, as the real thing. And when you, what I don't like in this question is the generative AI. We would love, and we are, I think, all trying to implement AI, different tools of AI that we can guide, that can help us in our work. But generative AI should be really, we should really use it carefully, make sure what are we feeding the AI in order to make sure that we are limiting the hypothesis and giving them enough information for it to be accurate to a certain extent.
Yeah, I agree. The generative bit is a little scary. Today, at least, I could see potential, like more constrained applications, but I think I would be wary today.
Great. Are there any specific platforms or technology out there that you would be certain that it's like best fit for the cultural heritage, especially?
I think there will always be a mix of platforms, different needs, different use cases. It's really amazing all the presentations we saw at 3D because the tools are getting better and better in the hands of everyone. So it's easier to create experiences on top of these 3D data on these heritage sites. Clearly, there will be some platforms more for archival. There will be some platforms more oriented towards immersive experiencing, web viewing, either through pretty linear narrative, very deeply rooted into the narrative you want to convey. The SCI-Arc way of doing things is really the nice point. Either producing very well-defined experiences by their team or going bottom-up and having the communities building these. It will be on these kind of platforms. And it will probably stay like that for a long time.
Yeah, I also would say like platform as SAG is serving is great, but you have many other platforms, as you mentioned, which we have seen here also, but it's very hard to say you can make like one platform which would be covering the entire world. Like there are always the trials. I think there are a lot of proposals trying to achieve that, and it's very hard task. Like none of you is just like, imagine that we are going to agree to use only one software or one hardware. Will probably never happen. So the same in the platforms for cultural heritage. Different platforms are fitting for different needs.
There's a bit of a gap right now, I think, because I think the community has lost Sketchfab, or at least Sketchfab is being kind of wound down and retired, and I think that was the primary outlet for many, many creators and for people to put their models and share them with the world. Yeah, and I don't know like, what's going to replace it right now. Yeah, it's not clear to me where people go.
There's probably some things to gather from the federated content spaces where a lot of public instances, institutions, they don't want to rely on a single private party at the moment, especially given for example, how Sketchfab decided to wind down. And if there's a way for these people in charge of 3D assets to either choose on which server, on which service, to which provider they would delegate their trust, eventually building their own instance for federated service for 3D assets, either props or environments, scans and everything. That would probably be something that will help them, but it's not an easy task.
Yeah, I would say heritage institutions care even more about where it is located on the end. So many times also like whether you are applying for European grants or any other grants, then often you have to respect some limitations. Means like if you are taking European grants, you need to have European servers or platforms or anything, and this is already limiting you because even though, let's say, you would have the main platform which is based in the US, and in many grants we would not be able to apply there because it's not allowed. So that's another part of the business where you really need to know what's possible and what's allowed.
Before we wrap this up, I would like to hear from each one of you, like your dream job, dream site. What would you love to scan once in your life?
Done already, no?
What? That's
It's
not
done
an easy
already.
question.
I think there. Yeah, go on. I just wanted to say there was one nice point from the audience at the beginning that when we might see like all of us working on one project, so that would be cooler for me now. Just saying now
So
one
you're
one
going
side.
away from my question. Yeah?
I'm going away from your questions, and I'm just saying that would be cool to do something together. Yeah.
I don't know if I have like a target site that I really want to do. Like I have favorite sites that I worked at, like that, and I think the one that comes to mind is Easter Island, and not just because it's remote and unique, it's also a place that SCI-Arc has been working at for almost 10 years. And we've been back to again and again, and we've made friends there in the community. So going back there is always like fun and like meeting old friends. I don't know, the longer you work in a place, I think the more attached you become to it. And I think those are the ones that really resonate with me, and the ones I would like to go back to, rather than hey, I want to do this exotic side over there.
I think for me, I've yet to discover what is the side that I really want to do, because if something that I was taught at Iconem and the experience taught it to me is that we know so little about what heritage exists around the world. We know the main sites, the World Heritage sites, or some local or national sites, but we have yet to discover what is hidden, whether by nature or just by lack of exposure on these sites. And honestly, for like 70% of the sites that I was able to work on at Iconem, I didn't know even existed. So that's quite unique to discover, because I wouldn't say I would like this site would be like the top of my work, and after that I can retire. No, there's always going to be something that is going to amaze us. That's in my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for this conversation, for this panel.
Thank you.
Guys, Bashar, John, Tomas, Jonathan, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for a great conversation.